unbelievable in Aggie basketball history has got to stop. The skid currently is at 9 straight games, and it's only 2 wins over BYU in the last 16 years in round ball. The Cougars are good, and they have been good for a long time in basketball. But Utah State has been good too long for this to go on like this. The problem is, tonight you have to break the streak at the Provo Marriott Center against a team that is picked higher in the WCC than the team that just beat you in St. Mary's. So it is Coach Ryan Odom, the first time ever going up against the BYU Cougars as the Aggie coach, and you can tell he kind of checks off all of the big basketball arenas across the country, and here's another.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I love going into, other teams' arenas, and I know we do, as these guys do as well. That was always fun at UMBC and other places that I've worked. I coached at Virginia Tech and went into Cameron Indoor and Smith Center, and seen a lot of cool arenas and crowds in my day, and this is going to be another historic, place to go, and kind of check off the, off the list from a coaching perspective, but certainly not about that, obviously, right?
No, it isn't at all about that. It's about the Aggies winning the game, but as well, remember, even as Craig Smith did for us here at Utah State, he lost all 3 games to BYU. In fact, you have to go back 7 coaches and 48 years for a Utah State coach to have beaten the BYU Cougars the first time they went up against them. So our salute tonight goes to Dutch Belknap. He's the last coach that did that at Utah State. So it is 7-1 BYU. They're ranked 23rd in one poll, 24th in the other poll this week. And our 6-2 Aggies into the game in Provo tonight. BYU Television will have the game at 7 o'clock tonight. The Cougars right now about a 6-point favorite in the game. Hi, everybody. Al Lewis will be joined by Jalen Moore a little bit later on tonight than normal. It's our first of 2 Aggie game days this week on KBNU. Saturday night, New Orleans is coming to the Spectrum. That'll be a 7 o'clock game, so we'll be on again at 6 o'clock. So we set up the game for you before the game with all the interviews and the facts and the information and stuff to get you ready for home games, road games, whatever. We'll tell you where it is on TV or where you can watch it on the internet if you're not going. And then immediately after the game's over, we're here and we take texts, we take calls, we analyze the game. John Russell and I will talk about it, and hopefully we'll hear from coach and players after the game as well. So we're setting up the 238th ever game between the Cougars and the Aggies. BYU won the first 15 ever played from 1906 to 1913, and it was one time a 20-1 lead for BYU in the series. There was another time from 1986 to 1993. They had 15 in a row going. As we said, it's now 9. It's 145 wins for BYU, 92 for Utah State. That is a 53-game edge in this 116 series history. Again, here is Coach Odom on the Cougars.
Yeah, obviously a really good team. They've had some unfortunate injuries, to start the season. Losing Baxter, obviously it's tough for them. You feel bad for any team that loses a player of that caliber. But they've done a nice job of figuring it out. They had to figure it out in the middle of one game, the first game when it happened, and then since then, I feel like they've played very well.
Yep, Gavin Baxter is the guy, again, who got injured against them, their big inside player. The other one, Richard Harwood's had some trouble this year with some health issues as well. So this BYU team maybe doesn't have the size, but boy, they're still good. This BYU edition is led by the senior Alex Borsello, the Arizona transfer, who's now, he's 3rd year, I guess, at BYU. He scores 18.6 a game. He hits 43% from 3. Their 6'1 senior transfer from Milwaukee, T-John Lucas, is the other double-figure scorer, averaging about 12. And when healthy, Mark Pope would like to play about 9 guys. But as we mentioned, the 6'9 Gavin Baxter had knee injury, and so he is out for BYU. But, boy, they shoot it, and they always do push the basketball, and they try to speed you up, and they play a lot better defense, a lot of people think. So they won their game against Missouri State, 74-68 on Saturday, as they rebounded from their 32% shooting game, which is well below their average, and their loss at Utah Valley a week ago in overtime. And again, the Wolverines beat them. How'd they do it, Coach?
Yeah, both teams struggled to score, quite honestly. It was one of those games probably similar to the St. Mary's game, or it could have gone either direction. BYU was winning down the stretch, and Utah Valley found a way to kind of get a little bit of a lead there at the end. And, from our perspective watching the game, is they really competed on the glass. They didn't shoot it particularly well, but they made timely shots when they needed them. And, when you get in these possession games, anything can happen, and that's certainly what happened there, the momentum of the crowd. And, I do think them losing Baxter early in that game, you prep for the game and you have Baxter, and then all of a sudden you don't, pretty quickly, and now you have to adjust. Not an easy thing in the guts of the game.
And Utah Valley with a very emotional win. They wanted to break through and beat Mark Pope after he'd been there. I think, wasn't it Pope who beat BYU once, I think, when he was the coach at Utah Valley, as I recall. And that one might have been in the Marriott Center. But earlier this year, BYU had a nice win against San Diego State, 66-60. At the time, Oregon was 12th in the nation. They blitzed them. Now, Oregon has fallen apart, but still, 81-49 was not even a contest. And they won at Utah, 75-64. So those are impressive games for BYU. So this is another real non-conference challenge for Coach Odom's team at this point. Almost a week off of that disappointing, hard-to-handle the finish, of course, of the 60-58 defeat to St. Mary's that stopped the Aggies' 6-victory run. Of course, our star is Justin Bean. He's number 5 in the nation in scoring right now, averaging 22.1 a game. He's had 18 games in a row with double figures going back to last year. 7 double-double games, double-figure points and rebounds in the 8 contests this year. He's the number 3 rebounder in the nation. I think he's one of only 4 guys in the country who has 100 rebounds right now on the season, I think is what I noted somewhere in the statistics and all. And so he's the number 11 shooter even in the nation. He's made 66 of 100 shots, so he leads the Aggies, and he did get the 19 points and 10 rebounds in the game against the St. Mary's Gales in the second loss of the year. But we've got to have more production, 3 shots each from Brock Miller and Brandon Horvath, and that's what happened last Thursday. The Aggies seem to lose their offensive edge. Now, again, I think you have to give the Gales some credit for that with their defensive effort that they have. They were the best in the nation in not letting teams get assists, and that's the Aggies' game, and the Aggies didn't get a bunch of them. Plus, the Aggies missed a lot of shots, too. And when the Gales finally made those second-half 3-point shots, the battle in the spectrum went to the wire. Those 2 referee no calls, and then again, a wild rebound situation with 0.9 to go, and the official comes running across the court, as we saw, and stopped it. So, as we said, this BYU team is number 2 in the WCC preseason polls behind Gonzaga, the number 1 team. St. Mary's behind them. So, on their floor tonight, this, again, is supposed to be even a harder game than the Aggies faced at home last Thursday night when they played St. Mary's. So, Jalen Moore will be joining us shortly. Plus, tonight we have an interview with Rylan Jones, and you know what topic we'll get into. I'm not going to say you hate him, but you don't like BYU. Is that fair to say, Rylan, from the start?
Yeah, they're not my favorite.
And the coaches segment with Coach Odom coming up. And we also have some interesting things we're going to be hearing over the next couple of games with assistant coach Bryce Crawford. You're going to get a chance to meet the Ohio native who's on the Ryan Odom coaching staff. So our game day is underway now, and we'll get to Coach Crawford coming up next here, a little bit of a scouting report. Hey, if you why buy from Daryl's? Worry-free delivery and installation. They offer installation on all appliances they sell. They're going to hook up gas and water to your appliances, haul away your old appliances for free. Best deals on the best names of appliances, too. Check things out online at daryls.com. Daryl's Appliance brings you game day on KVNU, and we will return for the Aggies and Cougars matching up tonight's game in Provo, and we'll return on KVNU after this.
Steven, stop dragging your feet. Don't you give me that look. You've had a bad attitude all day. Now, look, I know you'd rather be with your friends right now, but this has to be done, and either you start cooperating or I'm going to start taking things away from you. And I think you know what that means, don't you, Steven?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Okay.
Watch it.
Bigger isn't always better. At Cast-A-Lite, you'll choose from a huge selection of pavers and receive help from experts. You'll see just how easy it is to do it yourself. For brick, block, rock, paver, and tile, go where the pros go. Online at castalite.com.
This is Dave Simmons for Les Olson Company. Every great team knows that you have to train to stay on top of your game. Even top players continue to practice the fundamentals. That's why Les Olson Company offers free IT security awareness training so your business can stop threats before they become a problem. Learn what to do in case of a suspected phishing attack. Don't take risks. Take action with the Les Olson Security Suite. Get your free network assessment at lesolson.com.
There's no reason to wheeze and sneeze while around dogs and cats. The Allergy Clinic, located in the Cache Valley Hospital and now in Providence next to the Bank of Utah, have an extremely aggressive treatment for dog and cat allergies. Get the help you need and stop avoiding friends and relatives' homes just because of their pets. Independent physicians Benyon, Blotter, and Robinette offer Cache Valley a full-time clinic to test and address all your allergy concerns. Most insurance products, including SelectMed, are accepted. The Cache Valley Allergy Clinic, with 2 locations inside the Cache Valley Hospital and now in Providence. Call 753-7880. That's 753-7880.
Old McDarrell has a farm and appliance farm.
This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. Why do Santa and Mrs. Claus shop at Daryl's Appliance? It's easy. Daryl's has the best discounts on Whirlpool, Maytag, and KitchenAid laundry and kitchen appliances. Get the best price guaranteed. Don't forget our no-risk warranty and feel the Daryl's difference because service always comes first. Daryl's West on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
See Daryl's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
More analysis and more previews of today's game. It's KVNU Game Day.
I mean, I know that the crowd can get rowdy, and so I think that if I was not an Aggie, I would probably try to get out quickly as well. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that.
Stephen Ashworth, after the St. Mary's game last Thursday night. Again, you may recall what was happening there at the game. The ball got inbounded, remember, with the point whatever to go to .6, I think, after the free throws and all. And the pass went off the fingers of Justin Bean. He couldn't grab it. It went out of bounds. The referees decided, okay, we better review the time and situation. And, boy, they reviewed it fast, and they were out of there. And, of course, leading the way was the veteran Randy McCall. He was the center of everything last Thursday night. I've seen Randy McCall, and all of you have for a lot of years, done a lot of games when Randy worked. I've always thought he was fair, a solid official. He's done Final Four games. But, wow, standing way down in front of St. Mary's coach Randy Bennett, hearing him in his ear, he covers 50 feet of ground to come running for that rebound foul, while the other 2 officials are at the end of the floor and didn't call anything, to give St. Mary's a chance to win the game at the foul line. And I think all of us feel the same way. And, again, I've talked to people who officiate games. Really, officials feel like the players should decide it. They shouldn't. And the officials decided that game at that time. You go to overtime. Hey, St. Mary's might have been playing better than the Aggies in the second half. I think they did play better in the second half, obviously. And maybe they win the game. But you let the players, again, decide things. Okay, what's up right now in the Mountain West Conference? Of course, football making lots of news with the Aggies winning the conference championship, which was great. We haven't been on basketball game day since then. Congratulations, Blake Anderson and team, again, on that fabulous blowout of San Diego State. Now the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl that will be a week from Saturday. So coming up a week from this Saturday. But since then, we've had New Mexico State beat New Mexico. So those two have both won on each other's home floor in their home-and-home series. San Jose State lost to Pepperdine. And then Boise State last night beat Cal State Northridge. Nevada hasn't been able to play. Steve Alford tested positive for COVID. He's been in a quarantine for 10 days. I don't think he's been sick, but there's some other situations with other coaches and all. They had to cancel their game against North Texas, cancel their game with UT Arlington. Nevada did. So tonight, Air Force is at Montana. Seattle is at UNLV. Cal State Fullerton is at San Diego State. And Fresno State is at University of San Francisco. That'll be a great game. And Wyoming at Arizona. I think there's only, 13 teams now in college basketball that are undefeated. And one of those teams is Wyoming. Undefeated at this point, but they face another undefeated team in Arizona at Arizona tonight. Might be kind of tough. The conference right now, 74-28. You got Wyoming and Colorado State still undefeated. Colorado State's 26th in the polls, right on the verge of going into the top 25. BYU, as we said, 23-24 in the 2 polls. Wyoming 8-0, getting votes. 7-1 are Fresno State and Air Force up until now, and then the Ags at 6-2. Boise's now 5-4. New Mexico 5-4. So San Diego State's 5-3. And then you got San Jose at 4-4, Nevada's at 4-4, and UNLV at 4-5. The problem with the game against St. Mary's for the Aggies is that Utah State did not play like they'd been playing. the offense was off the whole game. I mean, obviously missed shots, but it just didn't have the flow and the crispness of the passing. And again, like I said, you have to give the Gales some credit for that, as the Aggies shoot a season low. I think it was 37% and only 3 of 15 from 3. But the Aggies, again, they've got to pass and they've got to shoot. And then they get out-rebounded for the first time in 47 games, going back to 2019-20. Defensively, St. Mary's shoots the best against the Aggies all year at 45%. They made 7 of 11 threes in the second half, and so now the Aggies are 6-2. And I had a chance to talk to Bryce Crawford, who is an assistant coach and has been for the last 7 years with Ryan Odom, all 7 years as a head coach, and that's where we get started. The team got a little head of steam with some winning streak, and then they run into the game against St. Mary's and don't win at the end when you have chances or whatever. How did they react from that?
I mean, we might have one of our best practices of the year following after that, right? And not because of it was a maybe, I don't know if maybe a wake up call, I guess, at some level, maybe just a dose of humility, that like of the consistency that is required for us. Right, like oftentimes you don't lose on that night, right? You don't win on the night, right? It's based upon like the habits you've created and the things you've been doing leading up to that moment. You cannot rise above your level of preparation, right? And so like whether it's like what we're doing as a staff or like how they're preparing themselves and like how we're like doing all that together, right? Like if there's like slippage at times, right, that can hurt you. Right, and like playing all those games we did before and even going into those other things, that made it harder. Right, it made it harder on us, and I think we have to be able to like really protect our standards and like fight for our standards regardless of what the circumstances are. And I think that lesson in that game will remind us as we move forward that we have to protect those standards that we have, regardless.
Then let me ask you what your thoughts are towards BYU playing them, who obviously is a really good basketball team and has been a good team last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, they're good, and it seems like the people in Logan do not care for them much. And so, yes, and I recognize the importance of that, and growing up, I can recognize and appreciate a rivalry. And yeah, I mean, they've got some really good, they've got a really like pretty special guard and the Barcelo guy, and we're gonna have to really make sure we slow him down. And they've been banged up a little bit, so they've kind of done a few different things here recently. Yeah, and then we have to be ourselves, right? Like like offensively, right? And I think that's kind of part of what hurt us the other day, right? We just weren't ourselves. We did some things that are a little out of character that are not what we practice every day, and that put us in a hard spot.
So we'll get Bryce Crawford's life story and his thoughts on things, and again a little bit about his family and all of that stuff. You're going to love hearing about his kids, who are young, but boy, they're already Aggies. And we'll have that in one of our game days coming up either this weekend or into next week when we do game day pregame. Yeah, BYU went to Missouri State after they lost to Utah Valley. And again, here's what Mark Pope said. He says, I'm super proud of our guys. It has been a really hard week for us between illnesses, injuries, and taking our first loss. These guys found a way to get it done in this game at Missouri State. First time they've ever played in Missouri. And they won the game with Barcelo and Lucas leading the way with 21, and Lucas had 17. But Spencer Johnson, Caleb Lohner, those guys can play. They had 14 and 10. Lohner's a guy who gets things done. And Johnson off the bench, very productive bench guy for BYU. They had shot 48% compared to 32% against Utah Valley in their previous game. So, again, they have Barcelo leading them in scoring, again, averaging on the season 18.6. Lucas at 11.9. Johnson's about 9, almost 10 points a game. They're missing now Baxter at 7.6 a game, and, of course, he just barely played one of those games, so his average a little higher. Lohner's about 7. Traore is at about 6 points a game, and Gideon George has missed the last couple of games with sickness, so he probably will be back. And then there's Seneca Knight, former San Jose player, who tried to transfer to LSU, but the whole COVID thing and the way it all went out, he never played there. And now he's a big part of this BYU basketball team. So good team tonight, the Aggies face. We'll move on game day. In our next segment, we will bring in Jalen Moore for tonight to start to set up tonight's game that way. And we still have Ryland Jones to come. And you just heard a little bit ago what he thinks of BYU. I mean, let's face it, he grew up as a Ute. His dad was a Ute. Then he became an Aggie, his dad. So he's been a Ute and an Aggie. You got to not like BYU. And then, of course, Coach Odom.
We've got to be on our game. We know it's going to be a hostile environment and, a big rivalry game for both teams. And we're certainly excited to play it.
So hopefully we bring in Jalen Moore in the next segment of Game Day. Les Olson Company. Remember, lesolson.com is their website for all the information about how you don't need to take risks when it comes to your IT network security. Take action with the Les Olson Security Suite they have available. lesolson.com can tell you more. And this is Game Day on KVNU. Aggies and Cougars tonight.
Cache Valley Bank's newest branch is now open in Preston. I'm Lance Zollinger, and I'm excited to announce Cache Valley Bank is now open inside Stokes Marketplace. If you're an existing customer, you'll love the convenience. If you're not a customer, we'd love to have you open a new account with us, or even talk with us about a loan for your farm or business. Cache Valley Bank, a community bank where decisions are still made locally, now open in Preston. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
The Riverwoods Conference Center is accepting reservations for holiday parties and events. Inviting you to experience an elegant holiday atmosphere, the Riverwoods Conference Center's beautiful new renovation is complete with new carpet, paint, furniture, and decor. And as always, with catering from Elements, your holiday event will be amazing with delicious entrees and decadent desserts that always deliver excellence. Whether it's a company or family event, it will be festive, beautiful, and scrumptious at the Riverwoods, catered by Elements. For reservations, phone 750-5151, 750-5151.
'Tis the season, and if you're getting engaged, bring that special someone to S.E. Needham Jewelers. You'll love our extensive selection of beautiful engagement rings. Also, you'll select a diamond from Utah's largest selection of loose diamonds. You'll find a unique ring at an affordable price with diamonds direct from Antwerp, Belgium at internet pricing. It just doesn't get better. And you may also take advantage of our 12-month interest-free financing. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
This is James Stevens with White Pine Funeral Services. We often hear people say, I wish I could use White Pine, but I've already paid for arrangements elsewhere. Know that if you've already pre-planned with a different funeral home, you can still call White Pine. If you are being told you'll lose up to 25% of your money, White Pine will provide a discount equal to any fee for switching. If you have any questions, please stop by for a visit or give us a call. We would love to meet you and explain in more detail.
White Pine Funeral Services, here when you need us most.
KVNU Game Day returns with Al Lewis.
Again, it's hard to call it's impossible to call a perfect game, as an official, and I know it's hard. That's something that I definitely will never want to do in my life, is officiate games, because they always get a bad rap. But yeah, it's just a tough few plays there at the end.
Ken Justin Bean reacting. He was the guy who had the ball originally. When the score is tied, he is going for a basket on the baseline, and his shot gets blocked away. He somehow got the ball and flipped it out to Rylan Jones. Jones misses a three-point shot, and then in the ensuing deal going for the basketball, there's a rebound foul called. Jalen Moore joining with us, the Aggie great, 10th all-time leading scorer. Jalen, that's a tough way for the Aggies to lose the game last Thursday night to St. Mary's.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely tough. I see, if the refs call a foul on that, I would just like to maybe see if it plays out, let the time run out possibly. Obviously if you don't call it foul, you couldn't have called the travel on the guy that got knocked over, and maybe just let the time run out and go to overtime. Or if you do call a foul right there, maybe call, a foul on the lob for Justin Bean and see if Justin Bean can step up and make back-to-back free throws to send it into overtime. Just kind of even the game out a little bit. I see why they called it a foul, but I would just like to see if they would have done that, call a foul on the Bean lob and see what he can do at the free throw line, and then it goes into overtime and the players are able to put the game out the rest of the way.
You've been in a lot of games, Jalen. You don't normally have the officials make a call like that, and I know you've played a lot of games when Randy McCall is the official. This is a guy you just haven't really seen something like that. Him come running from way down at the other end of the court with two other officials right on top of the play and calling the foul.
Yeah, and he's been a ref forever. He's done a lot of Utah State games. My 4 years there, he did a bunch of our games, even on the road and at home. And, yeah, he's usually, when he was one of the refs, we were like, hey, we're going to have a good reffing crew tonight, especially when he was the lead official. He always did a good job. And, yeah, that was kind of out of character a little bit. Like I said, I see the foul call from his angle. Justin Bean hit him in the back and knocked the guy over, called a foul. I just think if you're going to call it that way, call a foul on the Bean lob and see if Bean makes back-to-back free throws and let the players determine what happens at the end of the game. If you're going to call a foul on that play, I'd like to see it called on both plays, or just not a foul at all and let the time run out and let the teams play in overtime.
Here's what Coach Odom said after the game. Of course, a disappointing, bitter loss at the end for Utah State to have it decided that way rather than on the court.
Disappointed, unfortunate ending there, but, no sour grapes. It is what it is. We have to move on from it and learn from it. I think, hopefully, I know it's early. It's really early in the season. And so where we go from here is so important. How we learn from these types of disappointments is so important. So I'm excited, for our team. And
because, again, the reality of it is you can't do anything about it, Jalen. You do have to go on. You have to, and the most important thing is how you respond after that and learn from the game. Let's face it, the Aggies did not, from start to finish against St. Mary's, play like they have played a lot of games. The offense wasn't crisp. They did defensively stop St. Mary's in the first half, but they just missed a lot of shots. In the second half, they didn't miss shots, and the Aggies had a tough time with their defense too.
Yeah, they did. The first half was kind of just back and forth, really low-scoring defenses on point for both sides, but also a lot of shots were missed on both sides as well, low scoring at halftime. Then the second half starts, scoring picked up, play went back to almost normal. But St. Mary's is a good team. They did a lot of good things that I think they did against us. And I think a lot of teams – I know BYU is going to watch from the St. Mary's game and take a lot of stuff from that game and try to do a lot of things. You keep us to 58 points of us only scoring 58. You have a high percentage of beating us in the game, and that's what St. Mary's happened to do. And like you said, it was a little bit of both, missing some shots. But like we said, St. Mary's holds the teams defensively really well, too, so they have to be happy on their part, and we got to take that game and learn from it.
You were cutting out just a little bit, Jalen, there. I think we heard most of what you had to say. But how good are you? You said if we score 58 points, that's not enough to win the game. We scored 58. I mean, that was one of your keys to the game.
Yeah, and I just saw that St. Mary's, on average, the games that they had won, beat most teams, they held them below 60 points, and they played well. And the games that were hard fought for them to win, or games that they lost, the game to Wisconsin, they scored over 58 points. So I just knew that if their defense was on point and our shooting percentages were pretty low, we were going to play into St. Mary's hands, and that's exactly where they got us and where they wanted us.
Yep, it was a season-low shooting percentage. First time we've been out-rebounded in more than a season. So, again, that slipped. We did have one game where we tied this year in the rebounds, but we got outbeat in the rebounds. So, you slip in that game. So, again, the question is how you rebound from the loss and you get ready for tonight. And this is what the coach told us yesterday.
Yeah, they responded great. First off, we gave them ample time off to recover from a physical standpoint, but then, we got back to work on ourselves. We hadn't had a lot of time to work on ourselves, because we had game prep, right after game prep, from our return east. But, you go back and watch the film, not taking anything away from St. Mary's. There were baskets that we left out there, and part of that's on us. We just didn't play particularly well on offense. We weren't as in sync as we needed to be. And we did have some open looks, at the end there to still win the game that didn't go down. We had the ball in the last possession, tie game, and certainly you would want that against a top 30 team. We didn't get it done though. And I think, if you go back and look at it, there was a number of plays within that game. Either way, St. Mary's could certainly say the same thing, that we didn't get accomplished. And, I think their style of defense, we're going to see that, more than we're going to see some of the other defenses that we've seen this year. And I think that's why you play these games, to help, prepare you for every which way you can be guarded.
So, Jalen, I know you couldn't see all the game the other night, but of what you saw, what did St. Mary's do defensively that did take us out of our freewheeling pass to this guy, to this guy, to this guy looking for a shot? What did they do?
Yeah, I just think that their rotations were on point defensively. First off, I think they were also just a fundamentally sound defensive team. They didn't make a ton of defensive mistakes. Like Coach was saying, we had open looks that we missed. But for the most part, St. Mary's made us have to earn baskets. And that's a hard thing to do. I think they did a better job. I know Bean still had a double-double, but I think they did one of the better jobs of trying to keep him off the offensive glass. And you look at their team, and they had good size at every position where it was just, they were maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit stronger. Stuff like that made it harder for us to score. And you look at a team like BYU, and I think you're going to run into those similarities tonight. Mary's and BYU have out of the same type of players. And so for us, Mary's and then go back-to-back with BYU, I think the game could be kind of similar tonight.
I think you're probably right on. And again, the box score. Brandon Horvath, 3 shots, made 2. Brock Miller, 3 shots, made 1. Your other guards, Rylan Jones and R.J. Idlerock, you want Horvath and you want Miller to kind of be your scorers. And those 2 guys, 5 for 20. St. Mary's knew who they wanted to shoot the basketball, and I'm sure other teams are looking at that defense and all. So we're going to have to get R.J. and we're going to have to get Rylan Jones. They're going to have to be better with their offense than they were the other night, too.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have to get, I think we only had 2 guys in double digits in scoring, and it was Bean and Ashworth. And Ashworth is playing at a really high level right now. He's looking good. And so he's going to have to keep doing what he's doing. But like you were saying, I think Idlerock and Rylan and Brock and even Horvath, first off, they're going to have to shoot a few more shots, And that's where you got to give St. Mary's that credit that they played good defense. They didn't give up that many shots, but for the most part, they got to shoot more, and they're going to have to be more consistent and make more shots as well.
Right. Again, Jalen Moore with us. Again, our game day coverage of the Aggies. Let's pause for a second and take a break, and then we'll have Jalen talk about BYU and give us his keys to the game. Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Their Pick a Pearl event is on, and then that'll be Friday and Saturday this week. For $10, you pick an oyster, you open it right then, and you save it for the perfect stocking stuffer of a pearl. And if you've done this before, it's a lot of fun. It's at Jarek's Fine Jewelry at 930 North Main. They bring you game day on KVNU, and we will be right back.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
What are you doing for your home medical supply needs? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We sell the highest quality products in the industry, and your shopping experience with us will be unmatched. Get out and enjoy freedom with one of our many different power chairs. We'll make sure you have the best experience possible and that you can bring wellness home.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Experts tell us that the 3 areas of balance for proper health are exercise, nutrition, and sleep. This is Ryan, owner of My Mattress, and while My Mattress store can't really help with exercise and nutrition, we can help with better sleep. If a person started today to live a balanced life in health, exercise, and sleep, 3 things might happen. 1, we might throw away the bag of peanut M&Ms that we have stashed. 2, we might get up off the couch and exercise. And 3, we'd come buy a new mattress here at My Mattress.
The holidays bring family, friends, and parties and more. How important is it to you to know that your house is sparkling clean this holiday season? Trust ChemDry of Northern Utah's hot carbonated extraction process to ensure your home is the cleanest, healthiest environment for your family gatherings this season. From carpets to hardwood floors to furniture and even granite countertops for baking. This is Darryl with ChemDry of Northern Utah. Holiday gift certificates are now available, and mention this ad for a free ChemDry world famous spot cleaner.
ChemDry of Northern Utah, ChemDry of Northern Utah. 435-752-6100.
Looking forward to playing in the Marriott Center. I've never played in the Marriott Center in a full capacity. Last year was COVID, so there was nobody really there except for family. So that'll be exciting.
That's Rylan Jones, and we'll get to that Rylan Jones interview tonight on our game day. Still to come in this half hour. Al Lewis with Jalen Moore tonight as we get ready for the Cougars and the Aggies. Like we said, BYU has won 9 consecutive games against Utah State. Aggies trying to break that run tonight. Jalen, the first net rankings came out from the NCAA. These are the ones that they use now supposedly towards the tournament. First ones came out. The Aggies are number 50 in the first net that is out there. BYU, who they play tonight, is number 21. St. Mary's, who beat them here, is number 49. Weber State is number 46. Iowa still to come, along with Weber State next week, number 17. Wyoming is number 11. Like I said, they're playing number 3 Arizona at Arizona tonight. So, again, more than likely they might have a tough time staying undefeated. 2 undefeated teams there. Colorado State's number 26. Oklahoma's number 53. Utah is number 57. New Mexico State's number 95. And Richmond number 98. So the Aggies do have some wins already inside the top 100. But, again, this next stretch of games, starting with this one tonight, good run for Utah State's basketball team to really see where we stand.
Yeah, this is going to be a good test for us. Tonight's probably going to be, I'm going to probably say it's going to be the best team that we played. Obviously beatable. They lost to UVU. They have a lot of good wins, though. Oregon, Utah, they've gone on the road and beat some good teams. But like we said, they went to UVU, which is a lot harder than playing at the Marriott Center, which is a really good home crowd, really good home advantage, kind of like playing in the Spectrum. So I think we're going to have to battle through that as well. But definitely a beatable team, but probably the best team that we played so far. They've got veteran players on their team. They've got some good athletes. They can shoot the ball. They got some size. I think we're going to battle with them on the rebound tonight too. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We got a lot of good wins so far, and we got a lot of chances to build our team up in these next few games. And then you get in the conference play, and you're going to play Wyoming. You're going to play Colorado State. You got a chance to get some really good wins to build that resume for the tournament.
You played BYU a lot. That was when, again, Coach Rose was there. But Coach Pope was an assistant coach for some of those years. Their style has always been really revved up offensively. They attack you fast, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. It's more of a run-and-gun style. Transition is going to be, really important for us today. They build their team around good shooters. They have a few more athletes this year than they usually do that can, get on the O boards, get on the defensive boards, and bring it themselves. But, yeah, they usually have a big guy that can stretch the court and hit some threes if you're not careful. But, yeah, they got a veteran leader in Barcelo that's been there, done it all, played in the NCAA tournament. So, like I said, they have some experience. But for the most part, they want to get that ball and they want to run and gun, regardless if they get a defensive stop or if you score on them, they're going to turn and bring it right back at you. So you always got to be prepared.
And Coach Odom is really talking about how they are, as a team, a really good rebounding team. They really go after offensive rebounds. They've had a lot of their offense, he says, out of offensive rebounds. So, again, Bean's got to get some help on the backboards tonight from everybody probably in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be important. Horvath and Bean have held it down for the most part, but we're going to have to see guys in there, even like Brock in there battling, Ashworth, Ryland. If they shoot a lot of threes, that means a lot of long rebounds, which potentially sometimes go out to the guards. Or guards going to put a body on their guards. BYU's unpredictable. They could send all 5 guys sometimes. They could send 4. They could send 3. They could send 1. It's just gonna depend. They don't really have a set amount that they always send, and so we're gonna always have to put a body on everybody and box out from the 5 all the way down to the 1.
Gideon George was sick last week. He comes back. He does add a lot of athleticism to their rebound game. And Seneca Knight is now on their team, a guy who actually had one really good game against Utah State, as I remember back, and he also struggled against the Aggies, but he's capable. We saw him at San Jose where he can really score the ball at times.
Yeah, they've picked up a lot of solid transfers over the years, just like some other big schools that have been playing well. But, yeah, he's a scorer off the bench. Last week, like you said, he started, but I think that's because George was sick. So for the most part, he comes off the bench, and he's like almost their Ashworth. They look to him as being their spark plug guy that can get things going, affect the game offensively, making plays for other guys, and just be that guy off the bench. And like you said, they have George that'll be there tonight, and I think he's probably going to match up with Bean. I think it's either going to be him or Loner, guys that are a little bit more athletic and stronger that can rebound with Bean. I'm kind of thinking those two guys are going to match up with him. And yeah, so I'm excited to see how we bounce back from the tough St. Mary's loss and see if we're locked in.
Last time the Aggies beat BYU was 2011, 9 consecutive losses. Jalen, that was part of your career. What are your thoughts of games against BYU? I know a couple of those you kind of wish you maybe could have had another chance at, or maybe something didn't go quite right in some of them, and then a couple on the neutral floor down at Vivint eventually got away at the end after they were kind of closer games that you played them down there.
Yeah, the games at Vivint were close for the most of the part. They pulled away towards the end a little bit. Every time that I played in my career, they had a really good team. They still have a good team. They're just good at building good teams, and you just, like you said, I think the most important thing is this: you have to just really be locked in defensively. We would score on them sometimes. The next thing you know, they got the ball up to the 3-point line. They're shooting a wide open 3 or laying it in right after you scored. So you just have to be locked in. They they get scored on, and sometimes they don't even bat an eye. You know, they're just ready to go, and they've been playing that style for a long time. And if you're not locked in defensively, that's where they can hurt you the most. They got guys that can stretch the court and shoot from deep range. Barcelo's one of those guys. You just always have to be locked in. But yeah, you know, I always wanted to have another crack at them. Going 0-4 in my career was always tough. Just not being a huge BYU fan growing up, but for the most part, it was always fun playing against them, and it's a good rivalry game, and it's you know, I hope that we come out with that intensity, knowing that it's a rivalry game, and that we're locked in, and that, you know, there's going to be some, you know, people talking crap to each other. That's just how it's been. You know, these two teams don't get along, and I'm hoping that it's a battle again tonight and fun to watch.
All right, let's get to your keys to the game then tonight. From Chem Drive, Northern Utah tonight, they remove the allergens out of your carpet with this hot carbonating, green-certified solution extraction cleaning method. Again, they also can clean lots of other things for you. Chem Drive, Northern Utah, 752-6100. So what do you see tonight for the Aggies? Again, your keys to the St. Mary's game, kind of all of them, again, you thought the Aggies needed to do, didn't happen, and all of that. So what do you see tonight for them to win this game?
Yeah, the keys, my first one that I think the team knows, and that us as fans and people that are going to be watching the game is most important. We're going to have to keep Barcelo in check. I think UVU did a good job of that, made it hard for him to score. But most games when he's out there scoring 18-plus a game, getting his average, you know, BYU looks good and they win games. You know, they've only lost one game, and I think UVU just made it harder for him. So I think we're going to have to give him a hard time and try to keep him in check. Number two, we just talked about it for 5 minutes. You know, transition defense is going to be so big for us. Whether we score or they get the defensive board and they're pushing it at us, we just have to be back and build a wall and locked in, find shooters, everything like that. Our transition defense has to be on point tonight. And number three, I think we have to keep them from making middle drives to the paint. And what I mean by that is I think we need to force them baseline, you know, force them away from the middle of the lane, force them away from the middle of the court. They get middle on you, they have a lot of options. They have guys that can shoot pull-ups. They have guys that can shoot floaters. They can dump it down the bigs. They can drive it to the paint and drive and kick out to good shooters. So I think the middle drive, we could definitely have to keep them from doing that, and we got to avoid that. So I think if we do those three things, we come out on top tonight.
Okay, here's what the coach said, and I want you to listen to what he said and then tell us what he's talking about.
The speed of their offense and how we adapt to that, and staying in front of them and moving as the ball moves and being connected with one another from a positional standpoint is going to be a really key to the game, big key to the game, because if we get out of sorts and we get spread out and the shots begin to go up, now they have all these lanes to rebound, and we've got to make sure that we've closed down those lanes.
So is that what you're talking about, Jalen, as far as the drive to the middle, the transition? Tell us what the coach is talking about there, and kind of goes along with your keys, I think.
Yeah, so he's exactly, you know, they're going to do a lot of motion offense where they're kind of 5 out, 4 out maybe, set a lot of ball screens. You just have to be in the gap, you know. So if a guy's driving, your defender, your teammate, if you're guarding the ball, you got to guard the ball, try to keep him away from the middle. But your teammates around you got to be in the gap so that they just don't have wide open lanes to drive down the court and go score or make plays. And then what he's saying is if they spread you out 5 out and they're able to shoot, it's hard. You know, it's hard to box a guy out when he's coming full speed at you and he's got a running start to go get an offensive rebound. And if they're running 5 outs and a lot of our guys are out of position, they're going to beat us to the offensive rebounds before we can get there for the defensive rebound. So he's just trying to say, you know, avoid them spreading us out and avoid us just being out of position at times for us to have the best chance of getting defensive rebounds or just being locked in defensively.
Okay, you just almost touched on it a few minutes ago. I was going to ask you, I got this Rylan Jones interview coming up here. You know how Rylan, he's born and his dad's a Ute who played at Utah. He's a Utah assistant coach. Then he comes to Utah State. So he's never been on the side to like BYU. You touched on it. You're an Aggie. Your dad was an Aggie. You guys don't like BYU.
Yeah, I just don't. You know, like I haven't never liked them growing up. You know, like it was never anything like where I was like, oh, I gotta go and talk crap or nothing. It's just when you grow up, I just was never a BYU fan. I went to games. I've been a Utah State fan. I just want Utah State to always win. I always wanted to win. But like I said, it's always been fun. You know, it's fun when you have a rival that you're like, hey, this is like the team that I want to be since I've been growing up. And it's still that way. It was that way when my dad was even playing. You know, it's just fun when you have a rivalry like that in college basketball, and there's nothing really better. You know, both teams I think are going to come out. Both teams are going to give it their all. They're going to play with intensity. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. There's going to be a lot of physicality. Those are the games that are fun to watch, but also fun to play in. And, obviously I never got to taste victory, but it's been there, and we had our chances. And so I'm hoping that Utah State tonight has their chances and has a chance in 9-10 years to get the first win for Utah State.
How about your dad when he played? He got him home and home every year.
Yeah, I would have loved to do that. I would have loved to do that with Van, Weber State, Utah. Yeah. All those teams that you kind of have that rivalry with them. I would have loved to do something like that.
Okay. Well, Jalen, enjoy the game. Can we call you after the game then, quickly to have you?
Yep.
Okay, we'll talk to you then after the game.
Yep,
okay.
Sounds good.
All right, Jalen Jones. I almost said Jalen Moore joining with us, and now let's get to that whole thing about Rylan Jones playing against BYU, and he's had experience against him. I would bring Rylan Jones for first time in the BYU week because is there I'm not going to say you hate him, but you don't like BYU. Is that fair to say, Rylan, from the start?
Yeah, they're not my favorite.
And that goes back when you were a kid.
Yeah, I mean, long time in the rivalry, and my dad was always on the other side, so never have cheered for BYU. I've always been cheering for the Utes or the Aggies.
Mm-hmm. And one of your best games ever was against BYU. Yeah. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, no, that was my freshman year in the Huntsman Center, and they were obviously a very good team, and they started off great. It was Yoli's first game back from suspension, and we were kind of getting killed, probably down 14 at half, and then they kind of had their way with us, and in the second half we made a huge run, and Yoli cramped, which was great. I mean, I feel bad for him, but helped us come back and win. And then, just kind of the rest happened, and we won in overtime by about 5, and it was a heck of a game, and we came back and won, yeah.
The one thing, though, when you do play BYU, you always know it's going to be a battle, whatever uniform you're in going against them.
Yeah, I mean, they're a very good team, very well coached, great program. It's just going to be a battle. It always is a battle against the Cougars. And, we're looking forward to it, looking forward to playing in the Marriott Center. I've never played in the Marriott Center in a full capacity. Last year was COVID, so there was nobody really there except for family. So that'll be exciting.
How is this team regrouped, and how have you regrouped after the St. Mary's game? Obviously, you had a chance there at the end of the game to win that game, and that's what you play basketball and what you probably practiced for a long, long time to have a shot like that, Rylan.
Yeah, obviously that was a crappy loss, crappy way it ended. We definitely wish we could have won that game. But we had to come back on Saturday and regroup and just move to the next one, and we just got to learn from the mistakes we made in that game and just get better from them. And, yeah, obviously I had a chance to win the game there, and I missed. And, the sun came up the next day. As my dad would told me that when he called me the next morning, it was a long night. But he called me the next morning and told me the sun came up today, right? And I said, yeah, it did. And so, we just got to move to the next one and just learn from that game and hopefully carry what we learned over to the Marriott Center in Provo and come out with a win.
Because this team, you were on a 6-game win streak, and I think you guys thought you had things going. And St. Mary's deserves a lot of the credit because offensively, you had a tougher time in the second half against them defensively.
Yeah, they're a great team, and they are very well schooled on defense. They make you earn it, and we didn't. We struggled. We didn't play our best. We had some things that were uncharacteristic from our players and me. I made some mistakes that I hadn't been making, but we just got to learn from that. And they made it hard on us, and credit to them. They made it very hard on us. They didn't let us just play our kind of basketball how we had been playing that 6-game win streak, and now we got to come back and play our basketball that we played in that 6-game win streak.
And also, our defense slipped in the second half. I mean, when them shot, they shoot they finally made threes, and you guys were there in the first half, and they missed a lot of open threes in the first half. But I mean, they came back to it. So you've got to toughen up on both sides of the ball. You got to be better offensively and defensively.
Yeah, they missed a lot of wide open shots in the first half, which is not good defense. And in the second half, they made them, and that's why they scored 16 points in the first half, and then they scored 16 points 3 minutes in the second half. So. Basketball is about putting the ball in the hoop, and in the second half, they were making them, and our defense was not good enough. Yeah.
Our interview tonight with Rylan Jones on Game Day on KVNU brought to you by My Mattress. Nothing more important than the quality of your sleep, which will certainly improve when you're sleeping on one of their great beds, Tempur-Pedic or IntelliBed, sold only at My Mattress. Isn't it time you sleep exceptionally? And we'll have more with Rylan Jones either on Saturday night or next week, Weber State game coming up, as he talks about transferring and talks about growing up as an Aggie and all these kinds of things. Again, I think you'll want to listen to that for sure. So, and he updates us on what his dad's doing now. Former Tim Duryea and also a Stu Morrill assistant here in Logan. All right, our game day continues, and in just a moment, we will hear from the coach in the coaches segment of BYU and the Aggies tonight. Game day continues on KVNU. Cold weather is here. Let the gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah's Fireplace category help you update your home with Heat and Glow's full line of gas or wood-burning products. Building a new home? Let the professionals at Advanced Fireplace and Stove design and install your fireplace. From traditional to modern, Heat and Glow has something for every design and every budget. Install a product that will allow your family to make memories for years to come. Stop by at their showroom or visit them at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
It's back. Jarek's Fine Jewelry in Logan is having our annual Pick a Pearl event. If you've attended this in the past, you know how much fun we have. And if you haven't come before, you don't want to miss this exciting event. For only $10, pick your oyster, open it that day, or save it for that stocking stuffer surprise.
Mark your calendar, Friday and Saturday, December 10th and 11th. Pick a Pearl at Jarek's Fine Jewelry, 930 North Main. Just look for the bright green cars.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Open enrollment for individual health insurance is November 1st through January 15th. Coverage through the marketplace is still available with more tax credits, making it even more affordable. We'll help you navigate the marketplace, understand your plan options, and complete enrollment and save big. Trying it on your own can be frustrating. Let us help. Call 752-9493. There's no cost to work with us. Having a local agent makes all the difference. Call 752-9493.
KVNU Game Day is back with Al Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of gritty games, as an Aggie in the Spectrum. I think about, the San Diego States a couple years ago, and even last year, and Nevada, just a lot of big-time games in the Spectrum that have come down to the wire, and that's what we know it's going to come down to. Versus Oklahoma, we made some big plays down the stretch, and that's, again, what it comes down to, is just being able to execute and step up and make plays. And so we didn't do that, but I know we're going to come back, hungry and not let this get us down. So I'm confident in our team.
That's Justin Bean, obviously, after the loss to St. Mary's last week, knowing that the BYU game was coming up next. He hasn't beaten the Cougars either. Again, Jalen Moore just talked about it. Even the great Sam Merrill wanted to beat BYU badly and never had particularly great games against BYU. The Aggies have, a couple of those games, the one year that they went down to Provo, the last time they were down to Provo, didn't play well at all in that game and got kind of blown out. Justin Bean has never had a double-figure game against BYU, as he is right now the country's fifth leading scorer, third leading rebounder, and 11th best shooter. He had 8 points with 10 boards in one game, 6 points and 13 rebounds in another game. So he has rebounded well, and we got to have that tonight for sure. But again, here we got this big game, and he'd like to be a part of that. Justin, as we said, one of 4 in the country with 100 rebounds right now. He needs 12 rebounds to pass Spencer Nelson on the all-time list to be number 8 in rebounding for the Aggies. 789 is where he's at right now. Spencer's exactly at 800. He is now the 36th leading scorer at Utah State. A 20-point game tonight, he'll pass Vince Washington and move into the number 35 spot. And if he gets 22, he passes Desmond Penninger and moves into the number 34 scoring spot in the Aggie history books. So, again, Justin Bean coming into this game tonight. All right, let's get to the coaches segment brought to you by Alpine Home Medical. They offer a variety of home medical equipment products, home rental services. They're superior in their level of quality service they provide to their customers. CPAP supplies, compression stockings, lift chair, oxygen supplies, a whole lot more. It's Alpine, again, Home Medical, alpinehomemedical.com. So this BYU team, again, is on the season. Again, just one loss, so 7-1. Just came off of a win against Missouri State on Saturday after they had lost to Utah Valley last Wednesday night. And the coach, again, talks about how they play and some of the players that the Aggies, again, have to take care of tonight.
Led by their 2 guards. They're relentless on the glass. They really challenge you. When you do finally get them to miss, they really challenge you on the glass. We've got to do a really good job of blocking them out. Burcello and Lucas, really make them go and can get inside your defense. They can make big shots, aren't afraid to make big shots at key times. And then, I think their size around the rim They've got enough athletes, on the exterior that can drive the ball and defend. When you talk about their team, certainly on the defensive side of the ball, they're really stout. They're the number 1 3-point percentage defensive team in the country, and do a really good job of just making things difficult and taking key guys out.
And the Aggies had that bad 3-point shooting game against St. Mary's, so we can't have that again. That's a big part of this team, of course, how well they shoot from outside and get to open shots. And again, I know Rylan Jones felt bad about missing all the shots he missed in the game because he practices like crazy to shoot those threes and make them. And again, didn't make that one towards the end of the game, as he talked about a few minutes ago in that interview. Again, a guy who can make threes. He's got range, but he also scores in a lot of ways. He went to Arizona originally, and he's transferred to BYU, done a great job for them, of course. We're talking about Borsello.
Yeah, I think it's 1.5 men. You got to make sure that, it's 5 against the ball as opposed to just one-on-one. We don't want to put ourselves in one-on-one situations consistently with him because he's such a good player, as is Lucas. He can beat you, going downhill. So he's going to need help. And so, I think being there as those screens are coming or as he's driving down the lane, the help is there. We've got to make things difficult on him.
So Alex Borsello, the other guard, T-John Lucas, who transferred from Milwaukee, those are the guys who really do make things work. But they've got a lot of other parts, and they are missing a little bit. They were sick last week. I would imagine they're more healthy, but they will not have Baxter and Harward, the 2 great big guys for them inside. But they still rebound as a team. And again, the guy the Aggies know a little bit about, the coach, of course, has just seen him on film, some of the Aggie players. But Seneca Knight, I think once he scored 37 or 38 points against Colorado State in a game when he was at San Jose State. This guy, again, is a transfer now to BYU and was in the starting lineup the other day, but he's played a lot.
Good player. Yeah, good player. He's a guy certainly athletically that could get to the basket. He's a solid shooter from 3, really versatile defender. And, a guy that we'll have to deal with on that side of the ball as well. And so, yeah, our guys are obviously familiar with him, or at least those that are returning that played in games. And we have a ton of respect for him.
Yeah, he's getting
sure.
He's getting about 22 minutes a game, averaging 5 points, 4.5 rebounds. He kind of went to LSU, but never, I don't think, played there in the transfer. All right, last break on game day on KVNU as the Aggies play the Cougars tonight. It's on BYU television. We'll talk about that next.
West Point Dairy Products at Hiram is hiring. West Point Dairy Products has been manufacturing high-quality butter for over 25 years in Cache Valley. They're currently expanding and want you on their growing team. West Point Dairy Products offers competitive wages for entry-level positions starting at $18 per hour, full benefit packages, double time on Sundays, a $2,000 sign-on bonus, and tremendous opportunities for growth. For immediate consideration, call Express Employment Professionals at 435-213-9595.
Advanced Heating and AC, the gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah, is teaming up with Carrier Heating and Cooling. Carrier provides you with the best furnace units available. And now is the best time to buy a new unit before the weather turns Cache Valley cold. Financing options are available. Turn to the experts at Advanced Heating and AC and Carrier. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning at 752-7272. Stop by at their showroom west of DI. Online, advancedheating-ac.com.
Unfortunately, we didn't come up with the result that we wanted to end the game, but we move on to the next, and we learn, we get better, and we're still together as a team, to say the least.
Back in Utah County for Stephen Ashworth. I know this one means a lot to him tonight as the Aggies play down there against BYU, the Lone Peak guy again, and he's played well for the Aggies this year, real solid. Aggies are 6-0 if they have 3 double-figure scores in a game. They only had 2 against St. Mary's. If they score 70, the Aggies have won. So we'll see. BYU is a team that does score well. Something's got to give. Both teams are 4-0. BYU at home, the Aggies away from Logan, 4-0. It's on DirecTV 374. Xfinity is 646 HD. Don't know what it is with the dish, but it's BYU television, BYU TV for the Aggies and BYU. Immediately after the game, we'll be here as John Russell joins with me. We'll talk about it. Take your texts. We hope you'll call in and talk about the Aggies and BYU. Post-game and game day continues right after the game.
The station for news and talk. KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.